When Claire turned around and walked away from him that rainy afternoon, she believed she was closing a chapter forever. She didn't know she was planting a regret that would follow her for the rest of her life. And she definitely didn't know that years later, when her world collapsed, the same man she once rejected would be the only one standing between her and complete ruin. 7 years earlier, Claire was 26, ambitious, sharp-tongued, and desperate to escape poverty. She worked long hours at a small real estate office in Chicago, always dressed perfectly, always pretending she had more than she did. Her biggest fear wasn't being alone, it was being stuck. And Ethan? Ethan represented everything she was trying to leave behind. Ethan was kind in a quiet way, the type of man who listened more than he spoke. He worked as a delivery driver then, barely making enough to cover rent. His shoes were always clean but worn. His dreams were big, but his bank account wasn't. He loved Claire deeply, too deeply. That afternoon, he stood under the weak shelter of a bus stop, rain soaking his jacket, holding a small velvet box in his trembling hands. Inside was a simple ring, not expensive, not impressive, but it carried everything he had. "Claire," he said softly, "I know I don't have much right now, but I promise I'll work hard. I just need you to believe in me." She looked at the ring, then she looked at him, and something in her hardened. "I can't do this, Ethan," she said, her voice cold. "Love doesn't pay bills. I need more than promises." He swallowed. "I'll get there. Just give me time." She shook her head slowly. "I'm sorry. I don't want to struggle anymore." And then she turned and walked away. Ethan never chased her. He simply stood there as the rain washed over him, holding the ring that no longer mattered. Years passed. Life moved on. Claire got what she thought she wanted: a better job, a wealthy fiancé, a beautiful apartment. But happiness never stayed. The man she married was successful, but emotionally distant. Their marriage slowly became a quiet battlefield of silence and resentment. When he lost everything and a risky investment, he didn't lose alone. He disappeared, leaving Claire with debt, legal trouble, and a heart shattered by betrayal. Within months, her polished life crumbled. She lost her job, she lost her home, and eventually, she lost her health. Stress turned into illness. Sleepless nights became hospital visits. Medical bills piled up faster than she could breathe. One evening, sitting alone in a hospital hallway, Claire broke down. For the first time in years, she whispered a name she hadn't allowed herself to remember: Ethan. She laughed bitterly at herself. The man she once rejected for being poor. Where would he be now? Across the city, Ethan's life had taken a different path. The rejection had broken him, but it had also pushed him. He worked relentlessly, took night classes, failed, tried again. Years later, he owned a logistics company. Not flashy, not famous, but stable, honest, successful. And despite everything, he never became bitter. One evening, his assistant placed a file on his desk. "There's a woman asking for emergency financial sponsorship for medical treatment," she said. "Her case is complicated." Ethan skimmed the file, then froze. The name stared back at him like a ghost. Claire Reynolds. His chest tightened. Memories flooded back. The rain, the ring, her back as she walked away. He closed the file slowly. "I'll handle this one personally," he said quietly. When Claire was told a private sponsor wanted to meet her, she expected a lawyer or a representative, not him. When Ethan walked into the hospital room, She thought she was hallucinating. He looked older, stronger, calmer, successful. "Ethan?" she whispered. He nodded gently. "Hi, Claire." Tears filled her eyes instantly. I didn't know it was you," she said, her voice shaking. "If I had known—" He raised his hand softly. "You don't have to explain." Silence filled the room. "I heard you need help," he continued. "Your treatment, it's urgent." She looked down, shame burning her cheeks. "I don't deserve your help. Not after what I did." He studied her for a long moment, then said quietly, "I didn't come here because you deserve it. I came because I remember who you were, before fear made your decisions." Her tears fell freely now. "I was wrong," she whispered. "I chose comfort over love, and I've paid for it every day." Ethan nodded slowly. "I know." If stories of kindness and second chances touch your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling stories that heal and inspire. Now, let's continue. Ethan covered her medical expenses quietly. No announcements, no conditions. He visited occasionally. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they sat in silence. Healing took time, not just for her body, but for her soul. One afternoon, as Claire grew stronger, she finally asked the question that haunted her. "Why did you help me?" she said. "After everything?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Because bitterness would have made me poorer than I ever was." When Claire was discharged, Ethan didn't offer romance. He offered dignity, a chance to rebuild. Months later, Claire stood on her own feet again, working, healing, learning. Their paths crossed often, but gently. And this time, no one rushed. One evening, as they sat across from each other at a quiet cafe, Claire looked at him and said softly, "If I could go back." Ethan shook his head. "You don't need to. We're both different people now." She smiled through tears. "Thank you for not becoming someone cruel." He smiled back. "Thank you for reminding me why kindness still matters." Life has a strange way of bringing people back together, not to punish them, but to teach them. Sometimes the second chance isn't about love, it's about forgiveness, healing, and becoming better than who we once were. If this story touched your heart, stay with us. Here on DLYN Stories, we believe that even the deepest regrets can give birth to the most beautiful redemption.